that younger Phil Heath. It was that little kid that wanted to be loved, seen, heard, embraced, and was fearful of, not appeasing his parents, coaches, sponsors, those things, and always trying to find worthiness. And then I realized through that journey, you are enough. And with Breaking Olympia, it's a true testament of knowing that you're good enough. You just have to continuously believe in yourself and put your best foot forward, align yourself with good, positive individuals, but know that you're going to be tested time and time again. And you're going to be met with some heavy opposition, and you're going to have to ask yourself some really tough questions. And that includes little and big trauma, from childhood to adulthood. You have to address it. You cannot just, force it under the rug, and you got to go through it. And I felt like it was the perfect time, for us to share that story.
Hi, I'm Lauren Parsons.
And I'm Andy Jackson, and this is the All Well Co podcast.
Dive deep with us as leading experts share their unique perspectives on topics such as recovery, sleep, movement, and the latest innovations in the space.
Well, welcome to the All Well Co podcast, Phil. Before we dive into the journey, let's kind of set the stage. So, my background of kind of knowing about you is that I'm a bit older than you, if you remember, is that I was a big fan of Dorian Yates. So that was in the UK. He was the guy that kind of really got bodybuilding off and running and gave strength a real purpose other than kind of sport. And obviously, I don't think you ever competed against him. He was before you, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was much before me.
Yeah, I'm going to say you're a young man compared to him, whereas I'm an old man. So, what I'm really interested in, though, because I can't actually remember, but how did we all meet?
That's a good question. I believe we met through my legal counsel, Mark Bryant. Yeah, that's how we met. And he had this great idea for us to, chop it up and talk about some business ventures. And that's how we met.
Okay, cool. Because I know you've been to one of our events at our house when Lisa was cooking Korean food, and we actually saw the picture. We actually saw the picture the other night, and there was like 5 of us in the row, and we were all like this, and you're in the middle. Because I think it was just before you were about to do 2020, so you were already starting to. You were pretty jacked then, because literally the photograph, we were like matchsticks on the end, and you're right there in between the middle. So,
oh man,
hey, so you've been called one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, and you did this amazing documentary called Breaking Olympia, which was fascinating. During that, though, it showed more than just titles. I was really impressed how open you were about your dad and about your injuries and stuff like it showed struggle, it showed loss, showed mental health issues. I mean, you were talking about, you were considering taking your life. You were talking about sacrifice. So why was it so important for you to tell the whole story?
I definitely feel it was important during that time because of the growing trend, which is more people actually coming out and admitting that they have mental health, especially young men and older men. And I would say that through performance anxiety, people having these high expectations, and with social media and sponsors are completely different than how it once was. It just gets very overwhelming. And I thought, how can I use this platform to then educate other people who they probably just think, hey, he woke up one day, he became a bodybuilder, and he became Mr. Olympia. It was just like that because it happened so fast.
Sure.
No, there was some whys in the road where you're like, why in the heck am I doing this? And I wanted to be very open because I knew that I was talking to a few individuals, but most importantly, it was to that younger Phil Heath. It was that little kid that wanted to be loved, seen, heard, embraced, and was fearful of, not appeasing his parents, coaches, sponsors, those things, and always trying to find worthiness. And then I realized through that journey, you are enough. And with Breaking Olympia, it's a true testament of knowing that you're good enough. You just have to continuously believe in yourself and put your best foot forward, align yourself with good, positive individuals, but know that you're going to be tested time and time again. And you're going to be met with some heavy opposition, and you're going to have to ask yourself some really tough questions. And that includes little and big trauma, from childhood to adulthood. You have to address it. You cannot just, force it under the rug, and you got to go through it. And I felt like it was the perfect time, for us to share that story.
That's cool. One of the things I loved about the documentary was I've always seen you, for a bodybuilder, you're a pretty sharp dresser. You're always pretty cool. You always look pretty cool. And then I saw the pictures of your dad,
Oh
what
man.
how he dressed. Oh my God, he was so slick, so cool. That was so fascinating for me to see, that you took his sharpness. Very cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my dad, I just laugh because I'm just thinking if he were alive today with everything going on, he'd be showing up with the same, like, because now it's in style again, like some of the,
Yeah.
You look like to me he should be in like a Humphrey Bogart movie.
that's
So you
what I
look,
was thinking. It was
yeah,
so funny as we were curating all those photographs that I hadn't seen since I was just a young boy. I was like, man, my pops, and then Cherie, my wife Cherie was like, he's a handsome fella, like
Yeah,
he's a
he's
handsome
it.
kid, he
oh
had it
my
going
God, yeah,
on,
He's it.
he
he
had it
was
going
slick.
on. And I said, yeah,
Yeah.
he probably gave my mom a hard time, you
I'm
know.
sure, yeah.
Yes,
But
Uh-huh.
I always felt like after looking at those photos, I was like, my dad looked like a freaking movie star, man.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
he had
Yeah.
some swagger, so to match. So it was I I haven't yet gotten as close to him, but I'm getting there. But yeah,
There's
it was
something
really
cool
cool
about
to
that
see.
generation because my dad was a physicist, but when you see him in his, after the Second World War in his uniform and slick back and stuff like that, to me he looked a bit like Elvis. It's
Yeah,
just there was a certain coolness about that area and the way people dressed and looked, and I think the military, the people who had to do that either in the war or after the war, etc., really really helped people sharpen up.
Mm.
Maybe we
oh,
need to bring that back, Phil.
I
Mm.
think we do because it shows a level of confidence
And
and
respect, right? There's kind of a
respect.
level of respect there. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we've gone to events, let's say years back, where it was more formal,
Mm.
business formal. Now you can go to, and we've all done it. I've done it
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Going
In
to
your
a
sweats.
nice restaurant in sweats. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I still am old enough to know business class on an airplane. You had to wear a collared shirt. I remember that,
Well,
and
okay, let me ask you this question, Phil. So I was nowhere near an athlete like you, but I played a fairly decent level of soccer or football around that. And one of the big things all the coaches taught me there was, don't you ever turn up with a piece of jewelry. No rings, no necklaces. Now I watch NFL players playing with necklaces and rings. What do you
it's
think about that?
I the first person I think I saw do that was Michael Jordan in his early years. And I think that the NBA was so young, they didn't know what they were doing. They were losing
Yeah.
money. So they were probably like, who cares? But as time has progressed, you've seen like in football and the NFL, guys wearing like, I mean, I wear a cross, but like these guys are wearing like, I
Big
mean,
chains and
Big.
stuff.
chains and bling underneath their jersey. And I'm sure you guys seen like there was one athlete that was talking trash to another one. He said, I'm just going to rip your chain. And you're like, dude, like
Yeah.
we're talking about a chain more than the moving the chains, on the
Yeah.
Yeah.
field. So
Yeah.
it's definitely gotten, it's tough, right? Because it's all about monetization and entertainment,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily feel entertained when I'm focusing more on, and this is no shot at Dion's son, but I thought it was kind of cool a couple times when he showed the watch because I love watches. But I'm thinking, bro, like after the game, I don't really care about any of that.
Yeah.
I care about your post game thoughts and all of that. I care about, and he does a great job at that. So it was just interesting how, as an older person, because I'm 45 now, I guess I'm an older person compared to those kids. They look at it differently. It's a
Yeah.
part of
Yeah,
their
they do.
swagger. It's like if you're not. Let me ask you this: don't you find it weird too? Like when we're more focused on like how they walk into the arena, we're filming them how they walk into the arena. What are they wearing? All this other stuff.
Absolutely.
It's like I
Yeah.
still want coaches. I want them to go back 20 years when you actually had to like the head coach of a of a basketball team wore a suit. Now they're all wearing sweatpants. They're wearing tracksuits. I'm like, where's that part? Where's
Yeah,
that?
it's still in soccer. It's got a little bit more casual. So people like Pep Guardiola but it's still stylish. It's kind of Spanish and stylish and cool,
Yeah,
etc. around there. But gosh, back in my day, if I'd walked out, my coaches would have screamed at me and told me to get that off. What the heck am I doing?
yeah,
All the kids I used to coach were all suits and ties.
yep,
Young Beckham when he was 14 and 15, he would turn up at a game looking slick, suit, tie, everything.
yeah.
It's interesting.
It should
Yeah.
come back. I think, it just comes from leadership. I think we've gone from one end to the next. And I think right now we're kind of like, who's the example? And all it takes is probably like a premier athlete celebrity to say, this is the standard of excellence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the person. And then people admire that. And look, I'm all for fashion. And I think it's really cool wearing t-shirts and, sweats and joggers and all of that. But I think there's a time and a place for it as well. I think you should have an array of, that's what a complete wardrobe really is.
Mm.
I think, like, I talk to young guys, now, and I ask, you'll have a pair of Travis Scotts, but don't even own an electric toothbrush or a nice suit. Like, you don't even own a nice suit, but you have a $2,000 pair of Travis Scotts. It's kind of weird to me, So
Yeah.
it's like you're not there for the occasion if you were invited to something very special and unique. So I always think you should prepare for everything, for your boardroom or for the boardwalk. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's probably a testament to what we're getting paid for now these days, right? Because there's deals, there's certain things, this and that. It's, maybe previously it was you got paid to win. Now it's you get paid for your personality. So, but I want to go back to the documentary just real quickly before we move on to this. So, what did you want fans and even your critics to take away from your documentary? Because you shared a lot.
That I'm human.
Yeah.
That, I have the titles, which are completely, in my opinion, they're probably unrelatable because there's only so many Mr. Olympias that have won, and there's only myself and Arnold that have won 7 and 8 with Ronnie and Lee Haney. So there's only a Mount Rushmore, and it's 61 years, right? There's only been like less than 20 champions. So that's a lot. That's a big deal. But everybody needs mental fortitude. Everybody needs, discipline. But everybody needs to know that we can also take off our mask and we can allow people in. And the word vulnerable usually, by definition, makes someone weak for attack. And that's where a lot of people, especially men, they feel like, well, I don't want to be vulnerable because they don't want to be attacked. So they'd rather just put up a wall. And we've taught that. I wanted through Breaking Olympia to show people that you can take that mask off. You can allow people in. You can still feel safe. You can find those safe places, use discernment, and just speak your mind in order to help other people dealing with their own trials and tribulations. But then also show the moments of triumph, because it can't just be, trophies.
Doom and gloom. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't just make it doom and gloom. Everybody's going through something, and I just think it's. I wanted people to walk away knowing that it wasn't about me winning a title. It was about me finding who I am through that journey of winning, and it worked. A lot of people that we had watch it know nothing about bodybuilding, and when we were testing, because I was so fortunate to work with $7 Productions with Danny Garcia and Dwayne Johnson, they sent it out to people that don't even care about bodybuilding. These are elderly people as well. They're like, I don't care about this, but I care about the honesty and the transparency that Phil had. And I'm rooting for him as a human being. And I thought, that's what we wanted. That's what I want people to take away from it, is that there's a human being behind all that muscle and stuff. And all I wanted to do was use my quote unquote gift the best way I can. And I think that that's something that we all are doing, in our lives, is that we're in that pursuit of figuring out what we're good at, and, putting forth the discipline and the hard work, and having and using that fear and just doing it anyway. Doing it anyway, going up on stage for me, wearing basketball shorts before to little
shorts.
That's a change. You just got to be afraid and do it anyway.
Yeah.
And see what happens. So I feel like there's so much to take away from it, but really just there's the human aspect of just a person wanting to be better than he was the previous day, having the faith to move forward through obstacles, and really just acknowledging the pain and not being stuck with it, working through it and moving into a positivity. Because I can be honest, like, this has been a great human experience for me. through this, I even got to meet you guys, like to have these interactions and all matter. If I would have just not used my,
Biggest celebrities, the biggest celebrities there are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Danny and
the
Lauren.
Rock maybe beat us slightly.
Yeah.
but to travel the
Yeah.
world and do those things. I come from
Yeah.
Seattle, Washington, very in the inner city, and there was no one telling me that you could go to Europe and Asia. There was no one talking about, oh, I gotta renew my passport because I'm gonna go someplace other than Mexico, other than Canada. You know, I'm gonna go see the world. And with bodybuilding being in over 190 countries, I've been able to see the world,
Yeah.
and then the world also see me. So it works so well. It's just I wake up blessed every day. I know that I am, and no matter what happens, I know I created some really good impact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never dreamed that I'd live in America.
Really?
Never dreamed I'd live in America. It was like this place. I lived in a little fishing town in Scotland, and now here I am living in one of the coolest cities in the world and one of the coolest countries in the world, and never have dreamt that. Never.
Phil, did you learn anything about yourself when you were making that documentary?
Oof. I learned that, um, like I said earlier, taking that mask off was essential. Like I remember doing an interview. Sheree and I both, we did an interview and we were done filming. And like a week went by and we're both like, something's not right. And we both knew that it was us not going deep enough. So we asked for a reshoot, not of the whole thing, but just of a couple interviews. We're like, this is going to cost so much money and this and that. We're like, we don't care. This is a documentary. You don't really make much money from docs anyway. Let's just go for it because it's not about, you get one opportunity for something like this. This is very important. So what I learned is just being fully open to saying, hey, here I am. Take it as you wish, but this is me being my most authentic self. And if it's, it may sound cliche, but like if I impact one person, I did my job, but it's like, I'm just being thankful for the experience. So what I learned was just a level of gratitude like no other. I learned gratitude like because also who also participated in it. It wasn't just about me. I had some really elite people in that film.
Yes, you did.
And
Yes, you did.
they gave best interviews. Even my arch nemesis, Kai Green, I mean, man, like we did hate each other at one point. And for him to be kind enough to join in and do this project, I mean, I know a lot of fans enjoyed that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful for every person that was, involved. And, I've been able to actually thank them personally for doing that. And when you're going through that journey, you're always worried about like, okay, I'm not in the room. Here's a camera, here's a microphone, and talk about Phil.
Yeah.
Worried.
Say
And then,
anything.
So, yeah.
but then you're just like, you know what? But that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're thinking, Brandon. Tell me what you're thinking, Jay. Like even Dylan Armbrust that owned the gym. Like, tell me what you're thinking. And it was just awesome. So yeah, it was, I'm probably gonna have to figure out a way to do like a reunion and have like another screening at some point because it's, obviously it's available on different platforms and it's been on airplanes around the world, which is great. And we do have, and I just have to shout it out, like Universal picked it up. So like it's a big deal. I feel like it's important that when you have something that special with the people around, that you have a moment to say, hey, let's just put on an event where the fans can see this again and we can watch it together and then do a panel because I'm sure maybe thoughts may be the same or thoughts are changed or and I'm sure a lot of people would love to see Kai and I in the same room talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said about it, but overall I'm just thankful. I'm just anytime I think about Breaking Olympia, it just reminds me of gratitude, for many reasons.
So let's get right in there now then. So I remember from the documentary, and I didn't know this about you, that you were a D1 basketball player. So you started off as basketball, and I saw you dunking the ball even when you were jacked, that you were still doing it, etc. like that. So from basketball, were there certain physical traits or mental skills from basketball that you think gave you an edge later when you started bodybuilding?
Oh, for sure. Number one, um, my high school coach was. Have you've heard of the coach, the late Bobby Knight that went?
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
He was like that, and man, I mean, he was fierce, but he demanded excellence. He demanded it day in and day out, and that was back in the day where you can get it in a kid's face and yell at him. Now it's like, oh, don't talk to my son like that. It's like,
Yeah. I
no,
remember
he's
being
trying to,
slapped.
yeah, yeah, you got hit upside the head and balls thrown
You
at us and stuff. And
do
but
better. Yeah.
the same individual loved on us though. He was there for us. We had kids. We had a couple kids on the team that were homeless, and he gave them clothes. Like I mean, he drove us so many times to and from games. When our parents couldn't go, because they were working and whatnot. But yeah, having that killer instinct really came from him because, of course, I was always, I would say, height disadvantaged. um,
Yeah, same.
he just was like, I'm gonna make sure that you work hard, Phil, and if you work hard, you'll play. So then I was able to carry that over to college, and although I didn't have the career that I wanted, I got to learn a lot there too. Because you show up, doesn't mean that you're going to play. Doesn't mean that you're going to be acknowledged for the work that you do put in. But when it came to bodybuilding, oh my gosh, it was a singular sport. No one's going to get me up at 6 a.m. to go do cardio and hold a stopwatch and say, hey, you got to do it for
Yeah.
45 minutes. No one's going to be there as my coach and my trainer and stuff to tell me how many reps. No one's going to be there over my shoulder saying, eat that meal. Nor did I want that. So now I had full autonomy over my physique, and whatever I dreamed about, I could create. And I started very small. And the things that I learned from basketball were dealing with crowds, dealing with naysayers, because when you're playing in front of college kids,
Oh, you're heckled constantly. Yeah.
Where you
and I
are,
was,
Oh yeah.
even at college.
Oh yeah. That's where they love
oh,
it. Yeah.
they get the media guide of every player on the other team, right?
Yeah.
And
They learn your names.
they
Yep.
know your name, and even now, this is back then, but
Oh,
they have social media, they can look up everything. But in the media guide, they know what your favorite things are, your favorite food, where you're from. They even
Yep.
find out your girlfriend's name, your mom's name, your sister. They find these things out. And if you're a bench guy like me, I'm coming off the bench. They're just just giving it to me all night. And you go in there, and then you don't play well because you're thinking about them. But in my world, and when I was playing, you learn to absorb it, and you just mute it. It's like you have noise canceling headsets, and you're just like, I'm here, I'm present, but I don't hear any of this because I'm focused on what I got to do. So when it came to bodybuilding, it was more of like, I know how to tune, I know how to tune people out, but I also know how to tune out the negative whispers in my own head that I can't lift this, or I shouldn't do this when I really should do this, right? When it comes to eating, the emotional attachment to eating, like I didn't have that. The dehydration when it came to getting ready for a competition, well, I was okay with that because we couldn't drink a bunch of water during practice either.
yeah.
And just because water makes you weak, like we need,
Mm-hmm.
so
I'm gonna
you're,
take another break. Yeah.
and yeah, you don't get a water break. You're thinking like, I can't. And it pushes you through exhaustion. So that part of resilience like was bred from playing hoops, and then always looking at people who were bigger than me as, oh, I'm going to tear them down. Like it's David versus Goliath, and I know I'm going to win this one. So overall, I had the killer instinct in hoops. Was able to use that in bodybuilding. When I met with opposition that people would actually run their mouth a little bit, I'm like, oh, I totally know how to deal with this. When fans would talk trash, I would be like, I know what to say back. And unfortunately, in bodybuilding, like it's one of those things where if someone were to heckle you and you heckle them back, they don't know how to deal with it. In basketball, it's just a they have
Part of it.
it's
Yeah.
just part of it. It's like a friendly banter. But yeah, I definitely love the fact that I played hoops beforehand because I had a special experience that they didn't. I was in front of those large crowds. I knew what it was like. I knew that people were in your best interest, not in your best interest. But ultimately, it just came down to what I want. And am I willing to do the work when no one else is watching? That's the key right there. Am I just like when you talk about with
Uh,
soccer? Are you willing to go there before and after practice to go work on your game? Are you willing to sit there and look over game film, and I would look over game film in bodybuilding. I don't think these guys look at game film. I think they would look at in admiration of what they're building, but not like, oh, I could have lifted this better,
Yeah.
done this better. I'm going to do
Uh,
this better.
I was lucky enough because I when he was 14 and 15 in a state team, Beckham was in one of our team, and it's very stuffy. You wear suits and ties, and after the game, you're supposed to wear a suit and tie and go up and have something to eat, all in tables with the opposition team. Beckham and his dad, after the game, out there practicing what he did,
Yep.
did it, and it used to infuriate the old guys who were in the Blazers and stuff like that. But that was his mentality from very, very early, very early on. So Phil, you're playing hoops, and I loved your story about dealing with the adversity of the fans. I don't know if you know that the Ryder Cup European team this year are wearing the VR headsets, and they're practicing playing while the fans are screaming in their ears. So they're using technology to actually rehearse what they're actually going through during the Ryder Cup. So you're playing basketball. I remember from the documentary, it didn't go quite as well as you wanted it to. What was the moment you then knew, okay, it's Mr. Olympia for me? Was it a physical progress? Was it a competition result? Was it a mind shift? When did you go, this is what I'm doing?
Well, I would say shortly thereafter playing, because my last season was March of 2002, right? By that fall, October 8th, 2002, that was when I took my first photograph and I said, this is the day where I'm no longer even going to think about playing basketball. Although I had no more eligibility, I'm not going to even try out anywhere to go play overseas. I'm not doing any of that. This is me becoming a bodybuilder. And the term Mr. Olympia did not even enter my psyche. It didn't even enter my consciousness. My whole thing was just, do I even have what it takes to win a competition locally? So I set up these real, like very, I would say low level expectations, because a lot of people said, "Oh, you'll do this, you'll do that, you have the genetics," but I didn't understand what that meant for myself, because I went to a couple local shows and I'm like, "There's no way I could have a chest like that guy." Little did I realize he's been training for 20 years. So 6 months later, I did the NPC Northern Colorado in Boulder at the Boulder Theater. Won the entire thing, won the novice and the open overall. Now I'm like, I done beat guys that have been training for quite some time, and I just really got started. Let's do this again. Did it again uh, that June at the Mr. Colorado, the Colorado State Show. Got first in my weight class. Did not win the overall. Lost by 1 point. And I was like, okay, I'm really hooked into this now, because I'm seeing results. I'm loving what I see in the mirror. And I realize that this is something that's helping me mourn not playing hoops anymore. I get to just not be fixated on like, was I good enough? Yeah, you were good enough. You were good enough to get a Division I scholarship. Could you have gone to another school and maybe played more and maybe had a chance to go overseas? Yes, but you don't even need to think about it anymore. Think about this. But as far as Mr. Olympia, after I turned pro, literally 20 years ago, in July of 2005, when I won the Mr. USA, it reset, because I was like, okay, now you're a pro.
Yeah.
Prove yourself.
this is different. This is different. These are the guys that you're seeing in the magazine. You're going to go against those guys. So I do my first two pro shows, win the first two. Then I do the Arnold Classic a year later, place fifth. Around that time, that's when I said to myself, if I have more time in this gym, I'm going to keep improving, and I'm going to catch these guys eventually, either at their peak or on their decline. So that's what happened. I mean, in 2008, I got third at my first Mr. Olympia. Jay Cutler actually lost his title that year to Dexter Jackson, who had just won the 2008 Arnold Classic, where I placed second. So that, being in close proximity with a guy, Dexter Jackson, who won the Arnold Classic and the Olympia that year, I was in close proximity getting second and then getting third. I was like, oh yeah, it ain't about if, it's about when.
Mm-hmm.
It's about when now. Now it's about when, you know.
How did so across your Olympia career, how did your training philosophy evolve?
Oh, that's a really good question.
It's a loaded question, I'm sure.
No, it's good because, you talk about all these different methods, right?
Yeah.
I was just straight up in the book of the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, the Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. Let me just look at this. Let me understand, because I didn't even, I went to college at DU for, well, it was initially for computer science and business, but then I went to IT and business. I didn't know anything about, the anatomy and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what is a mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph? I didn't know what that
Yeah.
meant.
Yeah. Body type.
I trained for that. Like, I was like, okay, so who do I identify with? That's what I did. I read those books, and then, I just trained for that, more 8 to 12 repetitions, and that volume training really helped me. Also because I wasn't, I usually train by myself,
Mm-hmm.
so I needed that volume for me to go like let's say 3 to 5 reps on certain lifts. I can get injured doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did do similar lifts in college, you always had a spotter next to you.
Yeah.
And I never liked being under a weight bench and getting ready to press, and I can't trust the guy that's going to lift that, because I've seen, and I was able to see people get hurt, so that
Mm-hmm.
probably was a good.
Imagine now when they're on the phones.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You're like this, getting strangled, and the guy's over here
And it's
taking.
like, oh, did you see this on Instagram?
You're like,
Imagine.
I'm dying here.
Yeah.
So, you know, I kept it 8 to 12. Majority of my career, even now, I still do that. I do a lot of high volume training, but I would say it changed after yeah, my third Mr. Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
That was where I literally went for more density. So around 2012, 2013 is when I was like, okay, let's try this out in the off season. And that was like more 3 to 5, 5 to 7 rep ranges. And then just, full on, just grab a friend to lift, to help spot you. So I did that. But then in 2013, 2014, it's like, okay, I need more density. I don't necessarily need more size. I just need more density. So that was more working on eccentric movements and more time under tension. And that, I mean, look, there's so much other science out there that I'm not in that world. Like, I don't measure like that, but I can measure my own performance. When I started exercising as if I was doing a photo shoot where you had to squeeze and hold for 3 to 5 seconds with a decent amount of weight, I was growing like crazy.
Yeah.
Having the more striations and separation, and I already had that fullness and separation already, but now it was like granite. And that was something that Dorian Yates was known for too. He was so rock hard, like everything was like just ripped and just slabs of beef. Same with Ronnie Coleman, same with Jay Cutler. But I needed that for myself because naturally I was just a round, cartoonish type of figure,
Mm-hmm.
where I needed that real dense, hard muscle maturity look. And yeah, the eccentric movements, especially on leg days, that really did leg and back days. And then I would switch that up where I would change out the frequency of leg days because I wanted to get bigger quads and hamstrings. Where I'd pre-exhaust on leg extensions before I did squats, but instead of squatting like 4 or 5 plates, I would go to 3 plates and do 20 reps, and I do that for 5 sets with less than 2 minutes resting period. So I'm timing myself in that back of that leg room at arm rest, looking at it like I'm about to throw up, but it don't matter. Like, I'm just gonna figure
Yeah.
this out.
That muscle group. Good.
And I would believe that being at altitude really helped me as well.
Sure did.
It was always mentioned around the circles of the industry, like Phil has an unfair advantage of training at altitude. I'm like, you guys can move here.
You could live
You
here
can move
too.
here too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Was
Yeah.
there a role for periodization or block training when you were bodybuilding?
Um, Periodization for sure. I think I did
Yeah.
start with that originally because that was very popular, especially in Flex Magazine, Muscle and Fitness. And we also did that playing hoops too. Like
Right.
had that. That was quite familiar. Block training, not so much.
Yeah.
But what's interesting now is that since I've been retired for now 5 years, I'm like open to everything. It's like, oh, you want to try this trick? Sure.
Yeah, you get
Why
to play around for fun now.
I
Yeah.
can I can really play around. Like, I can train 30 minutes straight and walk out of there, or I can take 2 hours and go longer resting periods just to try to figure these things out. Um, I think that's the beauty of weightlifting, is that there is no one style, for each individual. I think you just need to find what's most comfortable and make it uncomfortable.
Mm.
Increase the intensity, change up the rep ranges, but most importantly, change up the rest time. Because I think now, and I'm sure you guys would agree, I think the resting periods are so important. They're so, no one, I don't think, really talks about it enough because we have a phone that distracts us
Yeah.
all the time. And if you were to look at a clock, I always try to look where the clocks are at in the gym. And I always look at them more than my phone. So I'm like, okay, I should be ready in a minute. If I'm breathing properly while I'm training, it's like after 3 rounds of a UFC fight, 5 minutes or whatever it is, they have to sit there and they have
Yeah.
to calm that nervous system. You got to calm that thing down and get ready for the next round.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that and I'm being mindful. And majority of the time, I'm out of there within 45 minutes to an hour. And
Yeah,
I've
we
got,
had that from somebody else on the podcast. They were saying one of the things that they see now is that people are on their phones too much, they're resting too long, they're not
yeah,
going to get the same results. They said,
Well, it's
but
intention too, right? If you're distracted, you're not paying attention to anything.
yeah, that's what I'm
Why
saying.
are
Like I
you?
can get 20 sets. Like I'm going to go train later today. I'll probably do, uh, I have a choice when I say, either I'm going to do legs or do like some back. I might do legs. Okay. But what I'm going to be saying is like, I'm going to go through, let's say, hamstrings. I can get through hamstrings within like 25, 30 minutes. And there's going to be a person next to me or around me that's doing, let's say, chest or arms. And I'm going to get double the output than them just because I stayed locked in.
yeah,
And we all know, like, this phone it will, it will prevent you, it will paralyze your gains. And it's an ongoing trend. I mean, if when I've had a couple people want to train with me, they can't keep up because they're not used to that stimulus. Like, okay, let's go. But it's no different than when you're on the line and you have to do sprints. You don't get that much resting period.
Right.
It's to build conditioning for a reason. And in conditioning in bodybuilding, that's where you see in conditioning the striated glutes and hamstrings, quads, the splintering of the chest. Like, how do you expect a person to get that ripped? It's because of the fact they're able to lift very heavy, but also take just enough resting,
Build.
pushing themselves constantly, and having a real focus.
Yeah.
So Phil, I'm going to take you back to ancient history now. So I used to lecture anatomy and physiology and kinesiology, etc., at a school in the UK, and we used to use pictures of Charles Atlas
Oh
to
yeah,
actually show people the body parts. Where does Charles Atlas fit into the whole Mr. Olympia history, etc.? Where does he fit in?
I feel like he initially fit in because that's what was considered like the best type of physique, right? When we look at the early Mr. Olympia champions, we're looking at a Larry Scott. We're looking at, you know, everybody thinks of Arnold, but there were people before Arnold. Different types of physiques as well. Uh, I think it was more of the aesthetic, but like you would have like that one or two wow body parts back then, whether it be the biggest back or the biggest arms. Like you think of
Yeah,
like Serge Nubret, or like he had like the aesthetics. But if you think of Sergio Oliva, you would think like these monster arms, these big forearms, these big biceps, this big massive chest, the back, like everything was just round. And then you look at a person like Frank Zane, clear difference, but brought the aesthetics and stuff. So I feel like, Charles Atlas was what he would be considered today a person that would do like, let's say, either men's physique or classic, probably more
got
classic
it.
Yeah.
bodybuilder. He would
Yeah.
be more like a classic bodybuilder that doesn't have like the crazy round muscle on the lower half of the body, but definitely has legs. It's not like he doesn't
Yeah.
train.
Where I was going with this is that so we used to put a picture up of him and we would literally point at the different body parts because it was
Yeah.
so obvious to do. So when you're training though, how do you approach like lagging body parts? Are there any scientific strategies? So exercise selection, angle changes, tempo. What made the biggest difference when certain body parts were lagging?
Um, well, the pictures can't lie.
Yeah, fair.
The pictures cannot lie. And I used to, and I mentioned this in Breaking Olympia. I would literally take a photo, I would print them out, I would take a pen, and I would look at it and say, if I was to make this person better, how would I do it? And I say, oh, I add a little muscle here, a little bit more roundness here, a little bit more definition here. And then I'd reference, okay, how are you really training at this point? What exercises are you not hitting? Because there's certain exercises, I mean, there's, hundreds of different movements. And people say, stick to the basics. Well, it's like, yeah, you can do that. But at some point in given time, you need to figure out what's going to generate the best amount of, stimulus for that small little area that you're good at, that you can get great at. So, I was very meticulous as to how I approached it. But yes, it was definitely more of, let's say, frequency for leg training, back. I would train those twice a week. And in fact, before I won my first Mr. Olympia in 2011, that prior year, I reduced my arm training going into contest for every other week to once every 3 weeks. And people say, well, why would you do that? I'm like, because it's bodybuilding. I'm trying to build up my shoulders better, because if my shoulders, my arms, they're not going away. They grow very easily, but the shoulders, and I'm not the widest structured person. So if I want to look wider, I need my shoulders to be capped, front, rear, and side laterals. Those delts have to be capped, but then I can't have these triceps sticking out so much that it makes it small. So I had to make a choice, shorten that up a little bit, increase the training on shoulders, have a full shoulder day, do shoulders again like on another day, and reduce, the arm training. And once I was able to do that, no one even knew the difference. By the time I won the Olympia, they're like, oh, he's so complete. And I'm like, then we won. So just
Yeah.
really being honest with
So,
yourself and figuring that out every year. Yeah, of course, it's difficult, but that's why you know, you use. I would say you use the photos to be your guide, but then I would also add in therapy, as your guide too.
well, this is where I was going to now as well. So, was it strictly visual, or did you use things like force plates, EMG, HRV, blood work? Back in your day, did those things exist?
Just blood work.
Yeah.
um, no one was coming up to you saying, "Hey, let's put some electrodes on you and see, how this works." But what I did do, actually, I had a guy out in Nevada, Colorado. His name was Dr. Keith Wagner. He was awesome, and he was a doctor of chiropractic, and he, would put me on a traction table, and I'd be on that thing like anywhere from 2 to 4 days a week, and I know that really helped. Um, because of the stress that I was putting my body through, right? But then
Yeah.
also, I mean, we did it all. We're doing, that plus acupuncture, plus stim, plus oxygen, all at the same time. But then one day he had this device where he could measure, he would put it up against every vertebrae, right? And it would tell you which side is off. So now he knows how to adjust you according to how your body is showing on this chart. So it could be, S1, or it could be, L5. And, that data really helped us. So then I could focus more on, oh, wow, like my shoulder's not feeling right. All right, let's check the body.
Yeah.
So I was really putting a lot of the money into that. And also infrared sauna, I was doing that back in '05. I was doing that. And then around 2010, I started doing HBOT therapy. So I bought a Guitars 320, had one of those in the house. So I was always being more forward thinking of like what I can do that would, give me more positive results. Excuse me, in addition to doing blood work,
Yeah.
3 times a year.
Yeah. I remember visiting you at Armbrust, and you'd have the stim machine with you. You'd have the portable
Oh,
unit
yeah.
constantly. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was doing that before. I was the one getting laughed at. Why would he bring this thing? And then you see now people doing it all the time. I was using those electrodes while I was training and doing
Hmm.
cardio, and it hurt, but it just at the time the science made sense, and I always tell myself the proof is in the performance, you
Yeah.
know, and it worked.
Yeah. Your eating schedule must have been insane. I mean, that goes
I
without
saw that in
saying.
the
In the
documentary.
document,
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
sometimes meals in the middle of the night, right? You'd
Yeah,
have to wake up to eat.
that was not fun.
Yeah.
The Mr. Olympia is literally upon us, and oh my gosh, I think of it. I'm like, so much freaking food just for one person. We're
Yeah.
we're talking about like seven meals a day. of like a pound and a half of food per meal
Yeah.
between carbs and protein. It's just a lot. Like I'm so thankful that I don't have to do that anymore. Like it
Yeah,
was,
sure.
but to put
Yeah.
on that size and to it was just for the fuel, and
Yeah.
you're burning it. I mean, just working your tail off.
I'm sure Cherie is glad that you're not doing that too, because she used to
She's on
prepare it all.
strike. She's on strike, right? Like she's
Yeah, I don't blame her.
since the especially after watching the documentary, she's like, yeah, I have like trauma. Like
Well,
with
and
the
I can't imagine how hot you must have run, right? I mean, she had to
oh she,
just deal with your body heat must have been
my body
insane.
heat was insane. Like, and
Yeah.
then trying to there was no cuddling involved. I was too big. I was 280 pounds. Like I'm 240.
Yeah.
Like it was just like she's like feel like your arms, your shoulders, like everything's like a rock solid. Like there's no like laying my head on your chest. Like yeah, it's huge, but it's
It
like
hurts. I want a
yeah.
pillow.
She's like no,
Yeah.
I'd rather have a pillow. Like and you're sweaty all the time because you're burning up the sheets. You know, like it was just oh, but
And how did you manage things like insulin sensitivity and nutrition portioning and when you're consuming so many calories?
yeah, you well, that's a good question. I mean, blood work definitely shows insulin sensitivity, so I was able to look at that. But then also fiber, making sure you're having that. I didn't. I only learned that through the after I turned pro because before I was like, man, I'm eating, but every now and again I'll go hypoglycemic, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Mm.
why am I going hypo? Like this is not fun, and I'm not on some type of insulin protocol or metformin or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I just had to realize like you're burning, like you ingest protein so freaking fast, like it just like you need something insoluble, soluble fiber. Like you need that.
Yeah.
Once I
Oh,
started
yeah.
adding that really helped. Especially if I was low carb dieting. That really helped a lot. So just through trial and error, you're able to figure it out. But thankfully, I have really good insulin sensitivity to where blood sugar, everything's really on point. Never really had, once it was addressed, I was able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Lots of the people who are listening are coaches or chiropractors or physical therapists or strength and conditioning coaches or athletes themselves. So you give me a little bit of advice. Doesn't matter what the sport was, but how do you structure your prep macros, differently during contest and off season?
So off season, and I think this is something that every coach needs to really address with their clients. Number one, off season is where you get to play. You get to play with the training, but you also get to play with the food. So you get to find out like, okay, even if you didn't have blood work, like, and figure out like what, blood type they are and all this other stuff. It's like, let's just see how your body works with different types of carbs, different types of proteins, different types of fats. And you get to play around with this. And once you figure that out, then you know how to structure your plan getting ready for contest because like, okay, this client works really good on high carbs. Like for some reason they just burn right through them. All right, good. This person works really good on red meat. This one, not so much. Maybe they can only do it every 3 days because their digestion. Maybe you need to, oh, wow. With all that data, maybe I need to focus more on this client's gut microbiome more, because they're having some type of issue. Maybe this person has autoimmune issues and I don't even know it because I haven't looked at the blood work, because they just get inflamed like every time, or maybe this one has a histamine reaction to certain
Mm.
foods. So I got to figure out all this stuff. And through the off season, I believe that that's where constant communication has to be established because when you're getting ready for a contest, you only got like really 12 weeks to really nail this. Some
Yeah.
people want to diet like 20 weeks out. I'm like, okay, you can do that because maybe you just have a hard time getting in the groove. But if you did all the homework in the off season, you know exactly how your body responds to all that different stimulus, from every pill, drug, food item, supplement. Like you should know if you're really keeping journal about it. And come pre-contest, it really just comes down to competing for an event.
Mm.
It's not about running that 100-meter final 8 weeks out for the show. You got to nail it like right then and there. You got to, and then you also, for all the coaches, and I'm sure they're probably going to agree, the client has to believe in your system. And you have to believe it wholeheartedly too, because coach is only as good as what he or she can do for that person at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
So if we need a game-winning goal, they got to be able to write the play. But the client, the athlete, has to also be transparent and open as to what they're doing too. Are they really doing the cardio? Are they really eating what they're supposed to? And that's where it becomes, very, very tough because people know how to lie.
Yeah. Of course
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
People know how
Yeah.
to lie. Sure, I worked hard today. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
was
did more.
I
Yeah.
was out drinking last night.
Mhm.
Like what's going on? So
Yeah.
I think that client relationship, is it has to be very intimate. It's as far as bodybuilding is concerned, you're asking the person to be the best at what they can do with their body, and you really need to know what's going on. But without the data, you have nothing. Without the trust, you won't get the data that you're asking for.
Sure. You mentioned supplements. Which ones were non-negotiable for you? And were there any that were overhyped?
Non-negotiables. I mean, obviously, you got to have creatine,
Yeah.
monohydrate. I mean, there's so many freaking studies out there. It's like,
Mhm.
come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now more people are taking it because they have new studies of like brain health, and this. I'm like, dude, this has always been there.
Yeah.
So creatine monohydrate, like you got to have that. Smaller, bigger quantities, you go for it. Protein, of course, but I think a CFM cross filtrated, protein is good. Whey protein isolate, but I also think of like blends are good as well because of
Yeah. It's
not
like a
being
bowl
so
sucky bowl.
acidic. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we talk about acidity and such. That's important. Um, those are the two major go-tos, and then also multivitamin. You have to have, and probiotic. Like if you're not having that, and then I would say folate. Like people don't methylate, so you got to be mindful of that. Um, and then obviously organ support as well. Like you have to have that as well. Anything that has to do with the gut, I think you have to take care of those organs. You got to take care of the gut microbiome because we're now studies now that people who do have a greater life expectancy, people who don't, that's when they start having bigger problems down the road because our food sources aren't as good as they used to be or as they should.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah.
the overhyped ones?
Yeah.
Overhyped. That's a good one.
Is pre-workout overhyped?
I think high caffeinated pre-workouts are overhyped.
Yeah.
I think I think when you add too much caffeine into a pre-workout, it just becomes a heavy stim. And as that heavy stim, that may be just for someone that is all about the fight or flight response. That is for someone that is probably just going for a PR lift. This is not for someone that's trying to build muscle mass because you're talking about so much caffeine that it becomes such a vasoconstrictor that how
Hmm.
are you able to grow? You need to create more vasodilation. So that's why you need the L-citrulline. You need the, like all these different, compounds to actually grow that muscle. I've tried it. I used to work at a supplement store, so I was like, oh, let me take this. Take a bunch of caffeine. I don't get a pump from that as much as I would when I would take an actual pump product. So I think heavy caffeine. I just think is overhyped. Now you're starting to see like I see pre workouts now with like different versions of like some type of dimalate caffeine and stuff like that. I'm like, so basically you have a fast and slow release caffeine. That is nonsense. Like you
Yeah.
need something that is very low stim, but then you need more nootropic. That's what you need. And if so I think that's very much overhyped. I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
So Phil, let's just change subject slightly. One of the things that fascinated me about the documentary was your openness, particularly around your injuries. And, particularly when you talked about your childhood, the issue around the hernia, that
Yeah.
had to be really tough. So I'm guessing this is probably your toughest injury, but can you walk us through, if it wasn't that, tell us what it was, the toughest injury you faced, and how
Hmm.
did you approach the rehab process, both physically and mentally?
Oh man. So I was born with a hernia. My parents were instructed by my physician that I should get surgery at like 3 years old. So they were like, "Oh yeah, we're getting it." Well, just like any parent. Oh, I'm gonna follow the doctor's orders, get it done. Never truly healed correctly. Now studies show that like yeah, I should have got it done maybe 2 years later because the fascia would have been different, been more stronger. Right? So fast forward, I graduated high school at 155 pounds, became played hoops, 170, 175 pounds, became a bodybuilder. You get the idea. Through weight training, it just injured it. It just really just started like slowly, 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 injuring that. And about 2014 is when I started noticing discomfort. Like here, I couldn't breathe through my diaphragm correctly and pull belly button spine as fluidly as I was in previous years. And you're in it. You're already in the motion, and you're Mr. Olympia. So you're traveling the world. You're doing all this stuff. Um, you're just training. You're not even thinking about it. You don't think that you're injured when you really are. And then it wasn't until my wife was like, Phil, like, you're not okay. I know you have a hernia. This is in 2017. She's like, your belly button is sticking out, dude. Like, you cannot pull this in. And I realized like I was having really bad problems of doing that. So one day I'm actually doing, abdominal work, and I feel like it tearing open.
Mm.
Ooh.
And I'm trying to do a plank, and I could feel like the insides of my guts like about to come out. Like it was something was about to rip, and I was like, "Oh, it's not so." But it switches. Okay, won't do that again. Just be careful. You have no fascia around this area right now. You're just going to do this show and figure this out. So as I'm getting ready for the show, like 2 weeks out, Sheree calls a doctor in Ohio that can do procedures very quick. They got me in like literally a week after I won the seventh Mr. Olympia. And, they put I had two hernias plus intestinal strangulation. So I was bleeding through my freaking colon.
So nothing
Oh.
major then.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing major.
Just whining.
And what was interesting about that was during that particular prep, I'm getting blood work done, and my hematocrit and hemoglobin are at like lower levels.
Hmm.
And also my AST and ALT were like low. Now, I'm an open book. I'm on anabolics. This should be like, this should be elevated.
And in Denver.
Yeah.
This should be elevated. These numbers should be elevated. And I have years of data because I have all the paperwork. So I get my blood work done again. And I'm like, this is not right. Something's not right. I'm still looking like I'm supposed to and all that. But yeah, it just was not. So like whatever pill I was ingesting and stuff like that, that wasn't getting that wasn't doing anything. Because when they opened me up, everything came out like a freaking accordion. They had to push they had to push everything back in. And
They knocked you out, right, when they did this?
So you
yeah,
had to walk.
it was
You
supposed
had
to
to
be
watch
30.
I'm
it.
kidding.
They told Sheree just to go get a coffee and come back. It'll be done. 2.5 hours later, I got done.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. But I say that to say that I was able to still win that. And then looking back at the blood work and what I was going through, because I didn't know I had that. I wasn't absorbing nutrients correctly. I had something that, was messing with my numbers tremendously while taking something that should elevate it. So then I realized, like, if I can fix this, wow, like I could be actually better. I could, once I fully heal. Um, I don't believe I really truly healed because 3 weeks out from the 2018 Mr. Olympia, I retore it.
Mm.
So
So what were you doing though to your training, your nutrition to try and protect your physique then while you were healing? Or were
yes,
you not?
I was very nervous about training after 2017. In fact, the thought of retirement didn't enter my mind. Just like, hey, pull a John Elway, say goodbye, right off in the sunset. You won. And I'm like, well, what fun is that?
Yeah.
What fun is that? You had the surgery. Let's just see what happens. So, um, we decided to do it. But going to that show, I was training very carefully. I was very nervous about like how heavy I went, but I just went for it. And then around 3 weeks out, I'm just training to cinch my belt and felt it pop, and I was like, "Oop, I know what that is, but I don't want to admit it." And that quarter-sized piece of mesh that was holding this man together was. And then right when I got home, I lifted my shirt up. I'm staring in the mirror, literally for like 30 straight minutes, and I'm watching it turn purple. I'm like, now I'm trying to pull belly button spine. It ain't working. It's just floating. There is nothing I can do about this. Like nothing. So right away I thought, well, do you quit and call a medical emergency? And I'm like, no, I'm I'm still gonna fight. I'm still good enough to win. In my mind, I'm like, I'm still good enough to beat these guys. Like, and that just did not happen. So yeah, it was very upsetting. But I got the second surgery, and then after that, I had a longer layoff. and then took all of 2019 off and decided like I was just going to be done. But then after watching the Olympia in Denver, at a friend's house, was like, I should just try it one more time, and then just one more time, like win or lose.
Says every ex-champion, world record holder, etc. Just one more time.
Just one more, man. Just give it a go, and whatever happens, you're going to be okay with it. Whether you peak for the show or not, like you're just going to do it for no one else. Like I got some really good advice from Dwayne Johnson. He said, "Do this one for you, just one time. Like if you could just do this for you and walk away." He's like, because that's what I had to do with wrestling. Like you do it, and you got to walk away knowing that like you're always going to be the champion in people's eyes. Like but you make this for yourself. Like don't think that you owe, like, oh, I have to do it for the fans again. It's like just do this one for you, man. Because once you're walking away, then you can say, yeah, I still miss it, but I walked on my own term.
Yeah, you left everything on the table essentially as well.
So Phil, the world has gone crazy about longevity. There's a lot about self-care at the highest level, etc. What did all these periods teach you about longevity and self-care? Am I right in thinking you've now been put in the Hall of Fame for sports or something
Yes.
now? So you're there now. Okay,
Mhm.
so what has that taught you about longevity and self-care?
I think it's important that we even visualize what that looks like. First of all, you can see where we're currently at. And, when you're in your 20s, you just think you're going to be like that forever, which is not the reality. So you have to kind of look at people that came before you and see what they look like and play life with your eyes and say, hey, look, like this person's walking kind of funny. This person has this physical ailment. Don't tell yourself that that won't be me. Don't say that that won't be you because they probably had the same idea. So you have to really be mindful of that. And when you think of longevity, it's like, well, then reverse engineer it. What is a person that's healthy in their 70s and 80s that is going to the gym every day? What do they do? Maybe I should go up to them next time I'm training and ask them, hey, what do you do? They would be very surprised that a person that is, looking like this, ask them, but they would be very happy to give you advice. And I think that goes to show with anything in life, whether it be,
That's
personal
such cool advice.
even in business. In business, you would go up to someone that's more experienced than you. So then go to someone that has more experience in life and in longevity. Because now with all the technology that we have, we'll probably have the opportunity to live longer, but actually live healthier longer.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just dropping your ego and just realizing that, okay, let me visualize it. Okay, kind of see it. What are my habits? Okay. What are my resources? Oh, I got a ton of those. And then how do I hold myself responsible? Like I can, like, let's talk about accountability, but like responsibility is like, I said this, I put it on the board. I have a responsibility to that person that I said, like for me, for instance, I know what I want to look like and feel like at the age of 50. So I have a responsibility for that person because that person is going to be able to do these things. So you have to visualize that, but then again, I got to be willing to talk to people like Jay Cutler. He won 4 Mr. Olympias. He's in his early 50s now. I can ask him like, so how do you eat? How do you do this? Like, how's your training? And he'll tell me like, still stay on diet.
I think you're going to be. I think you're going to be fine, Phil. You still look pretty cool and dapper to me, buddy.
I appreciate it.
Wait till you get to your 60s.
See, I wouldn't have guessed that either. See, so it's good living, man.
Oh, I love you too for that.
Oh man, but yeah, that's how it goes.
Phil, if you could redesign your peak years with today's recovery science, would you do anything differently?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Ooh, I'd use it all. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I would have used it all. I would have, yeah, I would have definitely had the plunge, in my house. I would have definitely maintained the saunas and the hyperbaric.
Oh, can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Obviously the plunge and cold therapy has become hot for all
Yeah.
sorts of reasons, but there's a load of new research coming out where people are actually saying that cold plunging and bodybuilding and strength training, it can actually negatively affect. What's your views on that?
I think for duration, I think for a certain duration. If I were to just jump into cold water for 30 seconds and jump out, I think I'd be okay. I
Yeah.
think it's when you're sitting in there for 3 to 5 minutes every day, and you do this, like, let's say after you train or whatnot, then yeah, I think
Yeah.
probably some science
Timing.
that would prove that it would be, it would go against that. But I mean,
Okay.
look, I just think, short term immersion, I think you should be fine. And especially if you're aching. Like if I'm doing cardio at, let's say, 4:45 in the morning for 45 minutes, and I gotta go train in 3 hours for 2 hours, and I gotta go back and do another hour of training plus cardio, I'm probably gonna hit that plunge and then probably hit the sauna and do some immersion therapy in between just to try to get blood flow going so I can
Okay.
recover. So I think, but they're not testing me. That's how I say it. Like when I look at science and stuff, I'm like, okay, that's great, and you guys have some test subjects, but are you really testing top elite bodybuilders? I don't know if you are.
Well, not
And
only that, yeah, not only that, Phil, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
not only that, but people at different times of their career, at different times and moments, etc., certain things are appropriate or not. I do feel like our industry can be it's this way or it's that way.
Mm.
yes.
And, it's just, yeah. I
Are
mean,
you
people have been jumping in the North Sea. You know that in Scandinavian countries, that as soon as the babies are really
yeah,
young, they put them in the cold water.
put them in the cold water and leave them outside in the carriage. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I always say, let your proof be in your performance. If you're performing at a high level and it's
Yeah.
working, maybe they're the anomaly or maybe they're the standard. I don't know. But yeah, I would definitely use everything. I would use yeah, you know. But I would really, I believe now, especially with AI, like we have so many ways to capture data. That would be really fascinating for me to figure out. Like, okay, I can get a full body scan every year to figure out, like, if I have organ failure or some issue. I can do clearly health heart scans. I can figure out, better calcium scores and all that stuff. I can figure out everything. Now you have, like, we're talking about, like, now going into, like, what, epigenetic testing as well.
Hmm.
This
Yeah.
is another level. Like, so
Crazy.
yeah,
Yes, it is.
if I had that 20 years ago, oh,
Mm.
would I have been a better bodybuilder? Absolutely.
Yeah. Gene
100% better
expression.
competitor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot more healthy.
So that's interesting. You said a lot more healthy because that leads me to this next bit. So there's no doubt we're in a bit of an epidemic of mental health issues, identity pressure, social media, particularly young men in basements playing computer games, etc. I don't need to really go through. That's been well documented.
Yeah.
So in your documentary, you're really candid about your body dysmorphia, your depression. Um, but those people who haven't watched the documentary, and you should, by the way, um, what was the darkest point and how did you climb out of it?
Um, during my sophomore year of college, I had very high hopes of getting more playing time and really making an impact. Because after my freshman year, I moved back to Seattle, was around a great environment of guys that I knew that was playing Division 1 also at a very high level, and I just knew that I was developing better skills, and I brought those skills there, but unfortunately got injured during preseason. And once you're injured in sports, especially at that level, the show must go on, right? So your playing time is now like they're on to the next guy. It is what it is. Season starting, show must go on. And as you're rehabbing, you're just thinking, I'll be back, I'll be back. But it's already done. It's already written. It is what trying to get back into a lineup is very, very difficult. You only have so many opportunities. And that person also has to make a mistake. And if they don't, then why would they change it? So for me, I was like, man, this sucks. I'm showing up every day. I'm in the drills. I'm not in the back of the pack. I'm in the front of the pack. I'm actually making the drills difficult for other guys as well. So it was no practice dummy, nothing like that. And then we were losing. And that's why I was, like, very depressed. Because you're sitting there on the bench and you're like, dude, I could contribute. I can contribute. Why is the coach not figuring this out? Why does he not trust me? I
Yeah,
don't
I've
know
been
how
there
to.
many times.
And you start placing your worth on your playing time. And that was just a nasty recipe for disaster for me. It just, like, wallowing in my own sorrow. And, after games, I would run around Wash Park and I was just, like, teared up. Like, I'm so upset that I moved all the way from Seattle to here to go to this school. I don't have any family here. I got coaches telling me one thing, and then they're doing another thing, and it just didn't feel right. So yeah, eventually it just got to a dark place, and when alcohol gets involved, and the devil gets a hold of you, you start doing some stupid stuff. So you end up for me, unfortunately, I decided to lay in the street on Evans and Gilpin, and hope that a car ran me over. And I don't say that with any laughter because it was not funny. It was a point in time in my life where I just felt alone, wasn't feeling seen, definitely wasn't being heard, and I didn't feel appreciated. And I would say that looking back, I mean, how stupid of that was. That was stupid, but it was just a cry for help. And I didn't have any confidence. And I say this to especially a lot of young adults. You go through life and you feel like you have no one you can talk to, when really they just don't know that you're hurting. There's people you can't talk to. You just have to make the first step. And that's very tough. The first step of saying like, hey, I'm not okay is extremely difficult. There takes more strength for you to do that. And just because someone isn't there seeing you doesn't mean they don't care for you. So I could have called my parents. Oh, I don't want to burden them. Oh, I don't want to burden coach. I don't want to do this. No, I should have done that. Luckily, I wasn't successful. And, I was able to find a new path, through.
So how did you get out of it? How did you kick yourself? How did you basically pick yourself off Evans?
It was just
The next
yeah,
day, what did you do?
I cried and I was like, this is the stupidest thing I could have ever done. What would the newspaper read? And how would my parents read it? How would all my friends, because I was the straight edge kid growing up, like I never really got in trouble. So I'm playing that in my head as I'm going home. Like they would all be shocked. And then they would say, man, what he could have been, what he could have done. And look, I'm living proof of it. I'm living proof
Yeah.
of it. Like
Absolutely. Look what you did.
if I would have died, and let's say I had the opportunity to go to heaven, he would be like, look at what you could have done.
Okay, but all right, you got
Tears.
yourself out of it. Yeah, you
Talk
got yourself
about
out of it.
Yeah.
But did bodybuilding itself sometimes make your mental health harder?
I think it made it difficult when you're in this sport where you're asking a lot of yourself, and you're then seeking validation from a group of judges that they can choose you being the best or not, right? So it can make you feel like you're not good enough as well, because eventually you're going to get a bunch of Ferraris lined up, and they got to pick one.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's
You
tough.
can't even see the scratches on the Ferraris, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they're perfect.
and then you might. And here's the craziest part. And I definitely say this. I've said this many times. When I lost, I remember and God rest his soul, Sean Roden. But like, I think about it. I'm like, you have a Ferrari next to, let's say, an AMG Mercedes or something. But the Ferrari got a scratch on the tire or the wheel, a nick on the windshield. Which car is better? Someone picked that other car because they're going to say, there's a nick right there.
Well, that's being the champion, though, isn't it?
And
Because you're the champion year after year after year. I mean, Phil, for me, you're Nike. Okay, you're not one of the other footwear brands. You're Nike. And what do everyone want to do about Nike? They constantly want to knock them down. Yet they're the number one coolest sports brand. They've kept themselves up there. So how do you handle that pressure of being the champ year after year after year? Because everyone wants to knock you down.
Oh yeah, I smile at it because I'm like, that's the coolest part.
Yeah.
Because you know what it took to get there. But then I also was I was at the Olympia when Ronnie Coleman won his 8th Mr. Olympia. I was actually in the audience, and I actually was able to hang out with him later that evening. I was also there when Ronnie Coleman lost to Jay Cutler, and I was able to hang out with Jay that evening. I was also on stage when Jay Cutler lost to Dexter. So what I say that to say I was able to see wins and losses, iconic moments happen in the sport, but I also got to see behind the scenes. I got to hear what the journalists had to say, the critics, the writers, like the promoters, even judges, and especially the fans and friends. what they say about people when they're on the top versus when they're on the bottom, when someone gets knocked off. And with all that, I knew what was going to happen. You're going to win, and after 3 or 4 victories, people are going to start hating you because it's just human nature. They want to see someone else win. They feel bad. They just like the other guy because he smiles more or whatever it may be. And I just would tell myself, like, that's stupid. I have the opportunity to show you something way better than having the champion lose and switch every year. You think that's exciting? What about a person that is a generational talent that has the opportunity to break the freaking record? That's what I was hoping people would. And there were, and
Yeah.
trust me, I feel like there was more people looking at it that way as time went, whether they were fans or not. It's just, I believe, like, I made it boring.
Yeah.
Because people would go to the show, they would text me after Friday's prejudging, because we have a 2-day show for the Open. And they'd say, oh, I'm just getting on the flight, man. Like, you already won this.
This is the Scotty Scheffler thing at the moment with golf.
And it's like, oh,
Everybody's
why go to the finals? Like, I already know who's going to win.
everybody's got a bit bored with Scotty Scheffler because he keeps winning over and over again, and it's like Tiger.
Yeah.
Everyone was getting Michael Jordan. These guys these are like you, top of the game.
Yeah, like an early Mike Tyson. You know, first round knockout here. You just paid $50 on pay-per-view, or you paid $5,000 to go fly out and put yourself in a hotel all week to go watch the fight, and it's over in 90 seconds. You're like,
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not going anymore. Like, it could be a gift and a curse. So, you know, dealing with the naysayers. I mean, I also was able to have some, in so many ways, like a mentor in our league president, Jim Mannion. I remember one year I won, I think it was my 5th or 6th title. And that's when, you know, you get some chirping and stuff, even in the crowd. They're like, boo, like, we wanted to see someone else win. And I remember him handing me the trophy, and he goes, who cares, Phil? You're like the Tom Brady of bodybuilding. Just embrace it.
I know you're much more interesting. Sorry, Phil.
I appreciate
Sorry. He's not going to be listening, so it doesn't matter.
Well, you know, I understand what he meant, and I ran with that and was like, you know, they have to have someone that they love and they have to have someone they hate. But I wanted to be both and also be respected. And that was the biggest thing. You know, and it was cool now is like those same people that wanted me to lose after I lost in 18 and then I came back in 20 and then placed 3rd, they're like, but you're still good enough now. Like in 2025, I know you're retired for 5 years, but you're still good enough. I'm like, I know. Well, why don't you come back? I'm like, I did. But one more. I'm like, can't. You had your kids.
Grass is always greener.
Yeah.
The heart grows fonder, you know, when the person departs. You know, I get that. And I, you know, I love that part because it's like even some of the fans came full circle too. And we all want the same thing. We just want to see the best and we want to embrace champions and stuff like that. But I'm so thankful that I was able to have a physique that created a lot of impact, that obviously won some major titles, right? But made people feel something. That was the best part. Like you would, like, if you were in Vegas during those times and people would come up to you like at the nightclub, they're like, hey, I owe you some money. You're like, excuse me? I remember one guy was like, hey, I owe you some money. I said, you don't owe me anything. You can buy me a drink. He said, well, I'm going to buy you the best drink because I just made $1,000 off of you because I bet this dumb over here that you were going to lose. I was
well,
like,
actually, it's funny you say that because I was at your 7th.
yeah.
I knew nothing about bodybuilding. I was just there to support.
Yep.
When you won, I cried. I was like, I don't even know what's happening. It was just like, you know, I was in it.
That's sport.
Yeah.
It's sport is so brilliant.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Well, it was a great moment too. I cried. Heck, I was crying.
Yeah, you should.
For your speech. Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Hey, so let's move on a little bit because, you know, your whole identity, you know, was all about your body. It was tied to your physique. Now you're out of bodybuilding. We believe you're very entrepreneurial. So how has your definition of success changed post-competition?
Post-competition has been more geared toward being of service to others. When I do the appearances, it's very much more intentionally focused on the person in front of me or the crowd around me. Not to say that I wasn't like that when I was competing, but they're always talking about me, like your next show and what's it feel like? And I'm now asking them more deeper questions like, what are you championing through? What are you dealing with? And then now I'm like the guy of wisdom and helping and stuff, and to be able to have that as an opportunity to work with different sports teams, different athletes, different actors, celebrities that are on the road nonstop, certain business professionals that just run into some opposition, and they're like, well, how did you deal with it, and how do you keep yourself healthy? Being a businessman, being an entrepreneur, traveling around the world. How did you do it when you're traveling 200 some thousand miles a year, all those transatlantic flights? So I'm able to really just give them honest feedback. And I have nothing to, there's no agenda on my part. It's not transactional either in that regard. Well, there is some, like people will hire me. I won't say that part. But for the most part, it's been very awesome to go to events and just have a greater experience of connection. It's more about like how I can pour into them than me just like, oh yeah, just hit a flex. Some people just like, hey, hit a flex and bounce. Now it's like, let me help you.
Well, look at you, like actually being your name, your nickname, the gift
Yeah,
you're giving to people. That's so needed right now in society. So good for you, Phil, on that.
yeah.
Let's talk about business though, because we've got a lot of people who are athletes, influencers, professionals, advocates, etc., who've got quality things to share with people. So you built partnerships with cool brands like Gymshark, and I obviously saw you this year at Panada and other brands you're working with. So what do you look for in a partnership?
Um, Actual collaboration, like real collaboration, like understanding like what their true vision is and how I'm inserted into that vision. If it's just something of like, oh, well, we have him as a name, that's not enough. It has to be like
Mm.
more. We have to win together in this. Um, where are your pain points? Like I asked Gymshark, where are your pain points with this, and this? And they said, oh yeah, we have a very youthful audience, but we need someone of champion pedigree that can actually bring more notoriety to the brand. That this is a champion brand. We have scaled like tremendously. You've seen our journey, and you get to talk about that experience. And now that we have clothing that actually fit you, it's a little different, right?
Mm.
Have a different market because originally they were solely focused on like a men's physique type of competitor, a person that doesn't have the same muscles. But and then even with Panada, it was a company that I always wanted to work with. I just didn't have the opportunity back then. And in America, it was very, very scarce to see. Like you would very rarely ever see a piece of Panada in America because it's the Ferrari of equipment, right? So you don't see very many Ferraris rolling around. You don't see many pieces rolling around. So when they were pushing more forward, like an individual that can help their U.S. distribution, it was like, oh, there's a collaboration there. So I always look for something that just honestly makes sense, that can roll off my tongue very, very easy, and is not forced. And again, there's collaboration, there's ideas, there's ideation, and there's execution. So I without that, it's just a paycheck and just like you faking it. And I feel like that would be disingenuous to my core standards, but also to my fans who've been around for 20 years.
Yeah. I want to ask about what you're up to now. I see your shirt there.
Yeah.
So what's this new venture? I know it's launching soon, right?
Yes. So it's our
Yeah.
new supplement brand called 7X Labs. Um, we we got into this. My wife and I, Sheree, we were always wanting to get back into sports nutrition. We had a brand before, but it was right before COVID, so we had to put a stop to that. And we were seeing what was out there and just the mentality behind it and where the industry really was. And where we felt the industry lacked was real authenticity and not just focusing on revenue, which there is a formula that we are firmly aware of, that you can definitely slap your name on some product, use my name, image, and likeness, bastardize the whole entire industry and get a paycheck.
Yeah.
But what if there's a way of not doing that? What is there a way to actually connecting with people to create community and understanding of real health and wellness, and develop some innovative products that actually make sense, not just for the younger Phil Heath, but the next one and the person that I am today. So we were able to do this within less than 130 days.
Whoa.
And it created, it was a lot of stress, can't lie,
Yeah.
because
What are they, Phil?
Yeah, what are your products?
Tell us about your products. What are
so
they?
our product range starts with, we have a pre-workout, There's I would say a low.
Lots of caffeine.
Lots of caffeine in
Lots
it,
of
probably.
caffeine in it,
Yeah,
I'm
lots of
sure.
caffeine. No, so very low. It's actually a very low amount. It's just a cup of
Yeah.
coffee.
Oh, we're
Yeah. Yeah.
teasing. We're
So
teasing.
yeah, we have that with a 1-to-1 ratio of L-theanine, which combined
Perfect.
helps you not have that crash. But then we also have a Shilajit and KSM 66 ashwagandha capsule. So that's going to help with a variety of issues, whether it be for reduction of cortisol, men's health, as far as like vitality for both men and women, greater testosterone function, which is always important, and increased libido for both parties. So
Hmm.
that's also fun as well. But for me, it was really the sleep, because I had a hard time sleeping, and just calming that nervous system down. And even with all the travel I'm doing, different time zones, it just it kills your
Mhm.
gains, and it just ruins your day, ruins your morning. So we
Yeah.
have that, but our hydration, that is definitely something that I think is going to be a heavy hitter, because without hydration, you're not going to have proper muscular contraction, better digestion, and even better energy levels. And we have a French gray sea salt along with acumen that helps deliver those 70 plus trace minerals that are going to really deliver that. And then we have creatine gummies, which we
Love
gotta have.
it.
We had to have something fun.
Yeah.
People were like, "Well, why don't you just have creatine? It's a standalone." I'm like, "We're gonna do
Who
that."
doesn't want to eat a gummy?
But
Yeah.
who doesn't want to eat a gummy nowadays? Like, and it's just something
Yeah.
that I thought was fun and exciting. And so we have that in sour apple, which is just, I feel like I'm eating candy all
Oh, I'm gonna
day.
try that. Yeah.
And there's a blue raspberry one as well. And we got a bunch of other flavors too. Then we have our fat burner that'll be launching soon. It's called Inferno Core. Now that is definitely for somebody that wants to get a good sweat and wants to actually, whether you're training for a show or not. Like, this is something that's definitely going to generate, faster metabolism. It's not going to suppress your appetite completely, but it's definitely an alternative for what we're seeing with GLP-1s and GLP-2s. A lot of people want to go that route, but I'm like, this will actually help you as well. But what's really cool about our Inferno Core product is that the harder you work, it works good too. So if you're doing like a hardcore spin class, like, you're going to be focused and you're going to be shedding pounds. Like, you're going to be losing weight, and you're going to be detoxifying your body with the ingredients that are in there. We also have a product called Intragard, and that is more of a pump product, as opposed to our Dream Killer pre-workout that has a variety of things from citrulline. Um, we have a sulfur-6, and then we have alpha GPC, taurine, B10, and hydrous. The Intragard is more as a component, like a stackable, that you can use with the pre if you want a little bit more added pump and
Hmm.
focus of a longer workout. So if you're doing high rocks, oh my gosh, like, if you're doing that, you combine that with the hydration. You could do Infernocore. I mean, not Infernocore, but you could do hydration plus Intragard for like a high rocks event. The Intragard is going to help you decrease lactic acid buildup too. Put a formulation in there that is going to actually
Oh, interesting.
get
Yeah.
rid of that. So now you can experience what true muscular fatigue is. And Andy, I know what that feels like, because you were running all the damn time, playing soccer. Um, you have that pH balance get out of whack. Like, you're
I'm a
feeling your
crazy
body
nut
is
on the
killing you.
bike now. I'm a crazy, crazy, crazy guy that does these 30-minute. How far can I go in 30 minutes? I push my heart rate in the 170s. I'm pushing watts of, upwards of 400 watts, etc. So this is great to hear. I will
Yeah,
certainly be using these products. And for all the listeners here, we'll put in our notes where to find it, how to trial your products, etc. Um,
absolutely.
well,
Thank
as
you.
we get to wrap up, Phil, this has been fascinating. I could talk to you for another 5 hours, but do you believe in legacy?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think it's what you leave behind for others to inspire them to do greater things than they're currently doing, to have the courage, to have the faith, most importantly, have the personal belief that you can dream of something, and you go from that ideation to actually just do it anyway attitude. I'm going to be afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to fail again and again. I'm going to do it anyway. And with that comes with a higher level of standard. A person that, in my opinion, you can have a good life or a good legacy. A lot of
Mm.
people can have a pretty good life, but the people that really fail forward and had that grit and that understanding of self and of good nature and of service, those are the ones that have a legacy. We never talk about someone that didn't serve others that had a great legacy. So a person has to use their gift to give. They have to cultivate that gift. They have to be masters at it. They have to continue to work and work and work and work, and then they can give on to others. And that's what's going to create that legacy. So yeah, I believe in that.
Well, let me try and guess. Let me see if I can guess this. So I was going to ask you, what do you want your legacy to be? Let's see if I can guess it. So titles, yeah, I like to win. I want to win. I want to be remembered for winning 7 times. The discipline, I want people to realize how discipline was around that. And I think you want your legacy to be about how you opened up about your struggles.
Well, I would definitely agree. And how I impacted other people to realize the true champion inside, no matter what obstacle, that they can do it, and that they can, care about their more success more than anybody else in the room, and they can do it with a smile on their face, even when they're hurting. They can, just because when you're going through those moments, you have to smile. We've all seen it in films, and even in like real life, where a guy gets knocked down and he kind of gives that grin, and it's that moment that they're
Yeah.
like, "I'm alive. I'm here, and I'm alive, and I'm in this moment." Like you look at even like the 300 at the very end, he's like, "I'm here." Like, I just think that that's a certain type of glory that is so freaking awesome. But that comes with being courageous to to go through the pain and understand that it's going to pass. So I implore everybody to just care about your success more than anybody else. Continue to be mindful of your surroundings, and don't be afraid to just do it anyway. Just do it anyway. You got the idea, write the book, do it anyway.
Yeah. So, very last question. We always end with this, and it's about kindness, which is one of our core pillars of this podcast. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to who has maybe deeply influenced you or inspired
Mm.
your journey?
Oh man, my wife, for sure. Because when we met, I was under the impression that this would fade away, like the level of kindness and gratitude and just like of service and of honesty and of true love. I never really experienced that before. And I was married before, but this was different. So I had some experience with that, and so did she. But it was the only, like, I thank her so much because she dropped everything. She dropped her career to move in with me, to help me as I walked into the peak of my bodybuilding career, to help me champion a lot of different business deals, the travel, the stress, the pain, um, the pain of losing my father, my stepmom, even friends. She's been there through it all and never wanted for anything other than just to be close to me. So it's just so freaking awesome that she was just so selfless. So it's a reminder for me every day when I wake up to know that there is someone that believes in me so much, even when I didn't have the belief in myself, that I can always return that level of kindness, that level of love. And that's what makes us great. It doesn't mean that, look, like, I was a complete a-hole sometimes, and and she put up with
Of
it.
course.
But when I say put up with it, she stood firm and said, you're better than this, and you're going to do better than this. And it was like if my best guy friend would tell me, "Hey, Phil, you're better than this," I would listen. It's the first woman I ever stare in the eyes and be like, "You're right, and I will do better for this," because I know that this is someone who I truly want to build with. So I give her a lot of credit because I had friends come and go, and she stayed. I went through hell through COVID. We went through hell through COVID. I mean, people that watch the doc, they're going to see the stuff that we both have gone through. And she just had my back, and I know that she will always have my back. So I thank her more than anyone.